Welcome to Hotspot on Cricket World TV, the final hotspot from the ICC World 2020 with me, John Pennington, in England and Chetan Narula out in Bangladesh. Hello again for one last time, Chetan.
Yes, John, hello again. And as you said, rightly, one last time from Dhaka, and welcome to all our viewers once again to Hotspot.
And we are, of course, going to talk about yesterday's final between India and Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka winning the game by 6 wickets in the end. They win the ICC World 2020 for the first time. It wasn't to be for India. Both Chetan and myself going for an India win, so our predictions didn't quite come true. Chetan, just give us your sort of reflections on the game from your viewpoint, and then if I can, I'd like to pick up on a couple of points of interest that I've got, and then you can sort of follow on from there, really.
Well, first of all, I think the rain delay actually helped the side bowling first, and that was Sri Lanka, because you had some sort of some sort of moisture that crept into the ground a little bit, perhaps helped in terms of the bowling, a little bit of swing early on. Maybe the ball wasn't, what happens is whenever there's a bit of a moisture on the pitch, it tends to happen that the ball just stops a bit, helps the bowlers out touch. So maybe that was the reason why that India weren't able to get off to a very, very quick start. But I thought Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli played superbly, and then they got off to a quick start. Got those 50-odd runs after the slow start. In the next 4 or 5 overs, the shots started coming out. Rohit Sharma then got out, obviously, and then Yuvraj Singh came to the crease, and that was a disastrous innings, whichever way you look at it. There's been quite a lot of reaction to Yuvraj Singh's innings, and I think we'll touch upon it at a later time as well. But that's where India lost out, because I'm not sure if it was Yuvraj Singh's poor form or but one thing that was for certain was that Sri Lanka's death bowling was absolutely on the mark. And I think the one thing that really India didn't do well was rotate the strike in those last overs, and they needed somebody who was set and somebody who was looking to attack, and somebody who's hit Malinga before as well. And that was Virat Kohli, and he was waiting at the other end while Yuvraj Singh wasted 20 deliveries. And let's not just say Yuvraj Singh, I think MS Dhoni, who came to bat in the last 2 overs, he was also a bit guilty of the same, because he too was looking to hit big. He was not looking to rotate the strike a lot. So of the last 3 or 4 overs, Virat Kohli perhaps faced just 2 or 3 deliveries, I'm not really sure, but in the last over, he, out of the six last balls, he faced 1 ball and he got run out on the last ball of the innings. That's where India really lost the match. 130 was never going to be enough. India have played here on this ground throughout the tournament, and they have chased 133 times without any trouble. It was never ever going to be enough. If at all there was a chance of India, perhaps turning things around, it was with early wickets, putting pressure, getting the required run rate up. First couple of wickets, there was, still, it could have been done. Then there came a stage when Sangakkara and Thisara Perera were batting. Lahiru Thirumalai had just gotten out, and there were a lot of singles and doubles, and no boundaries were coming, and it was a matter of, if maybe 1 or 2 wickets fall now, 40 odd were needed of, I think 42 were needed of 39 balls, something, that sort of an equation was there. So if if a wicket here and there, maybe Sangakkara and Thisara Perera both getting out, pressure would have been back on Sri Lanka. Not saying that 6 runs and over was going to be impossible for the rest of their batsmen, but again, you lose your top 6 batsmen, and that's pretty much the game done for you. So then what happened was Thisara Perera, who had been brought into the match for this particular game, hit 3 sixes against Amit Mishra, and I think that just eased the pressure off completely. And from there on, it was just a matter of when and not if Sri Lanka will win the tournament.
Absolutely right. So we maybe sort of come on to that in a bit, but yeah, you brought up the Virat Kohli, Yuvraj Singh, MS Dhoni not able to deal with the death bowling at the end. I mean, when Kohli was on sort of 72 in the 16th over, I sort of thought, well, he's got an outside chance of maybe getting to 80, 90, maybe if everything went his way, getting 100. It's very unlikely, I know, but he could only add 5 more runs, and then you had Yuvraj not able to get, it was like he was batting on another pitch. Dhoni, much the same. I think you're spot on to say that was such a key moment in the game, and Sri Lanka really did nail their death bowl. I think one of the commentators over here sort of said, well, Kulisakara's a little bit under the radar with his death bowl. I don't think he is anymore. I think he's a top-class operator of the death, and aside from that over where he did get carted, he really proved it. 19 runs coming from the last 4 overs of India's innings. That's absolutely massive for Sri Lanka.
Absolutely. I mean, 19 runs over the last 4 overs in a T20 game, that's almost suicidal, isn't it, John? I mean, let's talk a little bit about Yuvraj here. I mean, there's been a lot of criticism coming through all quarters, and there's been a lot of reaction. There've been stones pelted at his house. His sister-in-law was at home. His mother was not at home. His brother was not at home. Crowd was enraged, and it was a very uncomfortable situation. The police had to be called in. I think that's a little uncalled for. There's a fine line.
It's not a little uncalled for, Chetan. It's completely uncalled for. Let's not be in any doubt about it.
Let me just rephrase that. It's completely uncalled for, obviously. What I meant to say was that there's a fine line between criticism and abuse, and this part actually borders on abuse. You want to criticize the player, then you just need to say yes. He's won us a couple of championships in the past. I mean, 2011 he was the player of the tournament. 2007 he had around 70% of the role to play in India winning the World Cup. So the last 2 World Cup victories have perhaps come thanks mainly to Yuvraj Singh. So what a player, obviously. He's been on the decline. He's out of the Test format. He's out of the ODI format. And I think if you really want to criticize, you should say, okay, you've had your day. You've played some brilliant knocks. You've given us 2 World Cups. You could not deliver us this time. But it's not just because of this one knock, but a pattern has emerged where throughout the tournament, India were waiting for you to hit form. It was almost a debate in every game. What's happening with Yuvraj? What's happening with Yuvraj? What's happening with Yuvraj? And MS Dhoni was patient. He wanted, he waited till the Australia game, and got those runs. And everybody was, yes, India's batting's being tested. But again, now again when he was batting, you saw that okay, really, he's not in form. That was a one-off moment against Australia, who were not really inspired in that particular game. So we've got to a stage where he's become a complete liability in the batting order in terms of the entire tournament, and not just to one game. So you say, right, thank you so much for all your performances, but this has to be the last time that Yuvraj Singh played for India.
Okay, so if we move on to the Sri Lankan innings, and this was, of course, the last time that Mahela Javadina and Kumar Sangakkara were playing 2020 cricket for Sri Lanka, and well, there couldn't have been a better farewell. Just talk about how well you think Sangakkara played, having to deal with losing those wickets, losing Dilshan, Perera gone early, and Javadina as well, to carry them home along with Thisara Perera, the perfect 2020 farewell.
Absolutely, I think this is the start of a long, long walk into the sunset for Mahela Javadina and Kumar Sangakkara. They'll obviously be cutting down on their ODIs now towards after 2015 ODI World Cup, and then probably from the Test format. What it's done is, we will come to the tournament later. I think what it's done is it's given Sri Lankan cricket enough time to prepare for the future, and these 2 stalwarts have been brilliant have been absolutely brilliant for Sri Lanka in all 3 formats, and now I think it's a time for them to look forward. And it's going to start with the shortest format, but I think enough opportunities will be there for other players to come up in the other formats as well. Having said that, let's talk about the match in particular. I think Kumar Sangakkara was in a very, very poor form coming into this final. His innings was absolutely top-notch in the context of the situation of the match. Yes, Dilshan had given him the start. Jayawardene was batting fluently, but both of them got out at vital points. And like I mentioned earlier, Lahiru Thirimanne also got out. And there was this moment when the boundaries were not coming. 3 overs, 2 of them were by Ashwin, and then 1 with Mishra in there. So the runs were just not coming. Also another over by Sureshwar. So 4 overs in all, and the boundaries were not coming. They were just taking singles and doubles. Obviously, they were not losing, their grip on the match. But another couple of wickets there, and the match could have possibly turned. It was just like 40 needed of 38, 39 balls. So that sort of situation it was. And it was imperative, like you saw in the Asia Cup as well. I think it was against Pakistan that he hit that century. It was important for Sangakkara to stay at the wicket and see his side through. Obviously, his half century came at a very late stage. But along with Thisara Perera, I think that was a very, very vital knock. And, uh, and we had discussed in the previews, it was 2007 final, 9 in the final, 10 in the semi-final, 11 in the final, 12 finals, 2013 again in the semi-final. So long history of losses in the ICC tournaments. Ever the bridesmaid, never the bride. This time it was proven to be wrong, and what a send-off for both Jayawardene and Sangakkara. We joked about the fact that they celebrated the Asia Cup victory on an open-top bus. I hope they can go back and celebrate some more.
I'm sure they will. I'm sure they will, and I know that Sri Lanka Cricket chartered a plane over for some very lucky fans who wanted to get over to Bangladesh at the last minute. I'm sure they're probably still partying now. I think it got back into Sri Lanka about 4:30 in the morning. So great for them. I mean, Thisara Perera, that was a bold move from Sri Lanka, I thought, and it was one that was either going to work or it wasn't, I suppose, and it obviously paid dividends in the end. What was your sort of feeling at the time? Were you thinking, oh, should they have gone with it, or do you think actually that's the right thing to do at that stage?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah, certainly. That's fine. No, really, just on the decision from Sri Lanka to promote Thisara Perera up the order to basically get in there, get some quick boundaries and move things on. That was a bold move, and in the end, the absolutely right move, as it turned out.
Yeah, absolutely. I think he had been inserted into the side for that purpose itself, because Thisara Perera is a known big hitting quantity in the IPL as well, and I think it was a move, keeping in the fact that Amit Mishra has bowled along to Thisara Perera in the nets for the Sunrisers Hyderabad. So whether Sri Lanka were going to bat first and then he comes in the lower order and helps them to a higher score, or he comes and bats in the middle order against Amit Mishra, because you saw Ashwin bowl in the middle overs and Mishra was bowling, from the ninth on over, or ninth or 10th over onwards in the middle of the innings. So that's when Perera was batting. So it was a direct ploy against Amit Mishra, who's been in a sort of a good form. Obviously, he did not have the best of semi-finals, but he's had a good turnout in this tournament. So I think this was a ploy directly aimed at Amit Mishra, and it worked fantastically. Worked out very well. I mean, like I said, there was this moment when there were just singles and the doubles, and another wicket here and there would have been upset the balance of the game a bit. Not in Sri Lanka, from in Sri Lanka's favor to probably India's favor, but he just hit those three lusty sixes, and from there onwards there was no coming back for India.
There certainly wasn't. So congratulations to Sri Lanka. Chetan, just want to get your sort of reflections on the whole tournament, really, as you were there for the duration in Dakar, so you saw a lot of matches live, would have kept an eye on all the others. Just sort of sum it up and maybe bring some overriding themes together for us from your time in Bangladesh.
Well, let's start with the home team. It was a bit of a disappointment seeing the fans. It was magnificent the way the crowd turned out, and even yesterday during the India-Sri Lanka game, they were chanting Bangladesh, Bangladesh, Bangladesh. So I mean, it was interesting to see. It was interesting to note that. I mean, the crowd fever has been absolutely, it's been right up there, and it's disappointing to see that they've not really got the results that they should have over the past. Not just this tournament, over the past decade, they had no business losing to Hong Kong, and I think that paints pretty much the picture of world cricket at the moment. That you're giving chances to one particular nation as a Test status and ODI status and whatnot, and if those chances are given for a decade or 5-year period to teams like Ireland or Nepal or Afghanistan, Scotland, Netherlands, I think world cricket would be in a lot better shape. I think this has been the theme of this T20 World Cup. This is the lesson I think that should be learned from the T20 World Cup. I mean, we saw the passion with which Nepal played, Afghanistan competed, Ireland, they were knocked out, Netherlands, what beautiful. Everybody thought, okay, Netherlands, they won, they've beaten Ireland, they're going to group 1, but they're going to get rolled over, and they were rolled over by Sri Lanka, but then they fought against New Zealand, against South Africa, they beat England, which was, to be very honest, not a surprise to anybody. Because everybody predicted that when they beat Ireland and qualified for for the Group 1, everybody thought, oh, they're going to beat England once again, and it turned out to be the case. Again, England were lacking in inspiration. I don't know what happened to Australia. Perhaps they were lacking the momentum that Mitchell Johnson gives them. South Africa were surprised that they made it to the semi-finals, and despite the fact that they lost to India, they did not choke. Pakistan, unpredictable as ever. Sri Lanka, I think, deserved champions. India, surprising a lot of people there. They've had some poor run-ins to the tournament. Didn't win in South Africa and New Zealand, and here they won. Just rolled over teams. The bowling came together. It was a cracking tournament, John. And obviously, you cannot forget the West Indies. Um, Nobody will ever forget what James Faulkner said about Australia. Nobody will forget how Chris Gayle danced angrily, how they smiled and beat Australia and Pakistan and qualified, and they lost out because of the rain. Nobody will forget that New Zealand won against England because of rain. If England had won that game, perhaps having beaten South Africa, they would have been inspired against Netherlands and perhaps made it to the semi-finals. An unlikely scenario, but that would have cooled many people back home who are still debating whether Kevin Peterson has been rightly or wrongly, sidelined from English cricket. Um, and we'll be talking about Kevin Peterson in the weeks to come because he's ready to take up Delhi Daredevils. The camp starts from this week in Delhi, and I'll probably be attending the camp and see what's going on with Kevin Peterson there. Um, so all in all, I mean, coming back to the tournament, it's been a fantastic tournament. A lot of highlights, a lot of memories, obviously, and lots of good cricket. But I think the highlight has to be the fact that associate nations need more support, they need more chances so that they can compete. Teams like Bangladesh, sad to say, they have not utilized their chances properly, and it's time that others also start to share, and world cricket benefits from other associate nations growing and not being given one-off chances in one-off tournaments like this.
I absolutely agree with those sentiments as well, Chetan. Cricket needs to branch out and encourage more teams to play the game at the highest level and give them the sort of opportunities, as you say, that Bangladesh haven't been given as well. And that sort of nicely sums up the tournament from a cricketing point of view. We mustn't forget as well that Australia women have now made it a hat-trick, because we're still waiting for a men's team to retain or indeed regain the World 2020 final. Australia women showing them how it's done, 3 wins in a row now, beating England yesterday, so well played to them. So my predictions were absolutely nowhere, because I went for England to win the final and India as well, so very disappointing from a predictions point of view from myself. I know a couple of our correspondents did indeed go for Sri Lanka right at the very start, so well done to them, and the majority going for sort of Pakistan and Australia, so that didn't quite go down so well. Just away from cricket for a moment, maybe, Chetan, memories of sort of Bangladesh, your first trip to the country. What will you sort of take away in your sort of mental scrapbook, if you like? But maybe not the traffic, I would guess.
No, the traffic will always be remembered because it was. Let's be honest, it was always a nightmare commuting from the hotel to the stadium. But otherwise, very warm people, a warm stay at the hotel. Once you get past the traffic, not too much of a hassle. But most of all, the festive atmosphere outside the stadium, where I shared a few photographs when I started out of the tournament. Too many fluorescent lights, and the stadium, totally given a festive look. There were people always. One of the highlights was the India-Pakistan match, where thousands lined the roadsides while the teams came in. Shared those pictures as well on the Cricket World Images. It's just the passion for cricket, for this particular game, and it's, like I said, really, really disappointing that the Bangladesh team has not been able to repay that favor or fervor from the crowd, the passion from the crowd, and it's good to see that they at least got their money's worth with Sri Lanka and India, 2 subcontinent teams making the final. Enough support for both of them, enough cheers and boos. They enjoyed the game. So I think the passion of the Bangladeshi people for this game is something that will always be in my mind, always in my memory. And of course, a nice Sahara Bangladesh jersey, another one to my collection. I've been collecting quite a few cricket jerseys. Have a Pakistan one, India, obviously, New Zealand, South Africa, and now the Bangladesh jersey added to my collection. So obviously, but like I said, traffic, the jersey, warm-hearted people, but most of all, the passion for cricket that flows in this country, perhaps beats even India.
Great stuff. Well, Chetan, it's been an absolute pleasure catching up with you throughout the tournament, and I hope all of our viewers have enjoyed our sort of interaction, catching up with the latest news and our thoughts on the game. But it's time now to wish you a very safe trip home, and thank you once again for your contributions throughout the tournament.
Absolute pleasure, John, as always.
And we will no doubt catch up as our build up to the IPL. That will begin soon enough. But for now, it's been a fantastic World 2020. Congratulations, of course, go to Australia women, Sri Lanka for winning the men's tournament. But from Cricket World and our hotspots until the IPL, it is thank you very much for watching and goodbye for now.